this example, we're going to simplify the square root of negative 4 times the square root of negative 6 using I. Now, the square root of negative 4, we can think about that as being negative 1 times 4, because we know the square root of 4. And the square root of negative 6, we can say is negative 1 times 6. Now, if you remember, the square root of negative 1 is always I. That's something that you have to remember. Square root of negative 1 is I, and then the square root of 4 is 2. So really you have I times 2 here, which is 2I. And now you can do the same thing over here. The square root of negative 1 is I. The square root of 6, well, it's just the square root of 6. So you can just keep that like that. And now you can bring that down to here. And now we have 2I times I square root of 6. So what we can do is multiply these. I times I is I squared, square root of 6. Now, another thing you have to remember is that if you square this and you square this, these squares will cancel out. So I squared is definitely equal to negative 1. So anytime you have an I squared, you have to replace it with negative 1. So you really have 2 times negative 1 times the square root of 6. Now to simplify this would be negative 2 square root of 6. And so, because that can't be simplified any further, that's our final answer.